Now, Rishi Sunak insisted yesterday that the UK will always be a compassionate, welcoming country, despite the word invasion being used by his Home Secretary in the Commons, of course. The Prime Minister said that this comment, made by Suella Braverman after she fought that backlash on Monday as she was accused of breaking the law over the government's treatment of Channel migrants. Well, let's discuss all of this in greater detail. Ben Glaze, the Deputy Political Editor of The Mirror, joins me live in the studio. And Ben, is this a row that Suella Braverman wanted to have? We were talking a lot about migration yesterday and potentially not so much about the handling of sensitive documents.
That's right, it's the dead cat strategy, really. I don't think it was an accident that in the Commons on Monday night she used that very inflammatory word invasion to describe asylum seekers, Channel migrants arriving on British shores. She knew what she was doing, and it provoked the furore that she would have anticipated. Now, because she's come from the hard right of the Conservative Party, and because she resigned only a few days, was reappointed only a few days after resigning, Rishi Sunak sort of gone out of his way to welcome her back into the fold, into Cabinet, sort of show that hard right Conservative Party that he is willing to have a broad church and take people from all sides of the parliamentary party. Because she's got that position, maybe she's throwing her weight around. And yes, it did deliberately overshadow that big row about the security breaches with her forwarding emails to her personal email address.
And yet the Labour Party has been trying to show that this shows a weakened Prime Minister, that Rishi Sunak had to do some sort of deal with Suella Braverman in order to become Prime Minister in the first place. Is that an attack that's sticking? Has the melee around the Home Secretary bled through into how the public, or indeed politicians, are looking at the Prime Minister right now?
I don't think it's resonating so much with the public. I mean, it is true that when Suella Braverman endorsed Rishi Sunak, surprisingly, on the Sunday afternoon, it sort of killed off Boris Johnson's last remaining hopes of coming back as Tory leader and, of course, as Prime Minister. So Rishi offering her that job was sort of payback for that, and demonstrated that he was willing to accept people in a way that Liz Truss wasn't, who weren't his supporters in his original leadership campaign. But I'm not sure the public, it does resonate with them, because all they see is the migrants turning up on the shores of Kent, and they want someone to get a grip of it. Those internal party politics rows dominated the Conservative Party over the summer and before that, but they do seem to have dissipated slightly with Rishi Sunak entering number 10 last week.
And it's interesting looking at the arguments over the summer, the leadership election arguments that focused so much on the burden of tax that this country faces, the 70-year high tax burden. One of the reasons, perhaps the main reason, why Liz Truss won against the former Chancellor. And yet now, this week, we're learning that that tax burden might rise higher still, not only with increased taxes coming on the 17th of this month, but also spending cuts.
That's right. It is going to be austerity 2.0 on November 17th. Tax rises and spending cuts, because there's a black hole of at least £35 billion in the public finances, which was exacerbated by that fiscal plan put forward by Liz Truss during her doomed premiership with her best friend as Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng. So Chancellor Jeremy Hunt and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, they're going to make this statement on November 17th. And I think all of us are braced for yet more spending cuts and higher taxation.
And